Hi, this is Michael from Neatline Antique Maps. Let's take a look at this view of San Francisco, published in 1877. We start downtown with the original Palace Hotel, built by Bank of California founder William Ralston. 2 years before this view was published, the Bank of California collapsed, and Ralston drowned in the bay. Now, the hotel is the setting for perhaps the most famous anecdote surrounding the 1906 earthquake and fire. Following an appearance as Don Jose and Carmen at the Grand Opera House, Enrico Caruso was jolted awake in his suite at the hotel. As he exited, he saw the city ablaze, and the urban legend is that he stood in his nightshirt holding a personally autographed photograph of Theodore Roosevelt and demanded special treatment. Next, we move to Mission Bay and the Long Bridge. Construction on the Long Bridge began in 1865 in anticipation of the first transcontinental railroad. The bridge stretched over Mission Bay marshlands to Hunters Point, terminating at the ornate Bayview Racetrack. Long Bridge covered what is now 3rd Street, and the construction successfully connected downtown San Francisco to the central waterfront. But it had the environmental effect of sealing off the larger western part of Mission Bay, leading to the eventual filling of the whole tidal lagoon. Next, we have the Rope Works. This refers to the Tubbs Cordage Company, founded during the Gold Rush. This was the first ever rope manufactured commercially west of New England. The company had a successful run and eventually relocated to Southern California. In a very interesting blog post on foundsf.org, the authors show how a remnant of the original factory remains in a series of buildings which used to be adjacent to it and are now misaligned to the current street angles. San Francisco became a center for the production of iron, and Potrero Hill's Pacific Rolling Mill Company was the first iron-producing plant in the West. Early on, the mill produced iron bars used in mines, and then iron rails used for railroads and cable cars. Another important industry in early San Francisco involved sugar, and the California Sugar Refinery, built by Klaus Spreckels near Potrero Hill, was the tallest building in San Francisco for most of the 19th century. Ships filled with sugar cane from Hawaii would pull right up to the company dock. As you can see, much of the early industry that fed the growing city was located around Potrero Hill, but as we move north, we see that this wasn't exclusively the case. We come upon Washerwoman's Bay, a freshwater lagoon around today's Lombard, Filbert, Gough, and Octavia streets. The area was known as Spring Valley after several springs which fed the lagoon. When the 49ers arrived, they reported that Spanish and Indian women washed clothes there. But soon enterprising Chinese immigrants, many barred from the mining camps, created a lucrative laundering industry at the lagoon. As seen here, eventually the area became home to a variety of industries, including slaughterhouses, tanneries, soap and glue factories, and dairy farms, where we get the name Cow Hollow. The lagoon was in turn polluted and linked to cases of cholera. In 1877, the year this view was published, the lagoon was filled in by men from the local city jail. Next, we have Meigs Wharf, an L-shaped wooden pier built by sawmill owner and lumber dealer Henry Meigs. Meigs had invested heavily in real estate development in North Beach, and the wharf was an attempt to attract business to the area. In order to reach deep water, the pier was exceptionally long. But the currents and tides were strong here, and ships at dock were not protected by a breakwater, as they were further inside the San Francisco Bay at the Embarcadero. Meigs was financially ruined, but his vision was realized. The area was gradually infilled and developed, and eventually became part of today's Fisherman's Wharf. Finally, I love this view for the depiction of the West Side, because while we see the outlines of Golden Gate Park, we also see how deserted the West Side was at this time, and how it is still largely covered in sand dunes. A generation after the gold rush, and the city has been completely transformed, but the West Side still exhibits vestiges of an earlier landscape and time. Thank you.